My name is Calypso, welcome to Berlin and welcome to my full tutorial to knit this hat. I call this hat Antonia and it has a double folded brim as well as a really cute patchwork pattern that you can make in multiple colors and a crown that looks like a really nice pumpkin. I love this hat, you can make it really colorful, you can use all your scrap yarns or you can do it only in two colors. I made this in my size 56 to 58 centimeters hat circumference. And now is coming up the full tutorial, full instructions step by step how to make this hat together with me. If you would like to make this hat in a different size or maybe for children, then I recommend you get the pattern on my website or on Ravelry. So enjoy making this hat together with me. Good. I have knitted 7 patches. This looks really beautiful. I really like it. This is so nice. And I have here my stitch left and here these 14 last stitches. Now I'm going to show you step by step how to finish the patchwork and how to join patch number 8 with patch number 1. Step by step. Let's go. First I will pick up stitches here on this edge like I did for all the other patches before. And I will show you a trick. This trick might help you avoid small gaps here between the two patches. Like here you see there is no gap and I will show you this little trick. So like before I will pick up stitches here. I've already explained it so I will do it quickly. I have my 15 stitches here now and next to avoid a small gap here what I will do is pick up one of the legs of the stitch here on the brim and I will place it on the needle, twist it and knit these 2 stitches together. I knitted a couple more stitches here, but before I finish knitting the leftover stitches here on the brim, these last 14 stitches, what I want to do is pick up stitches on the edge of this first patch in order to join the 8th patch and the patch number 1. Because I worked a cable cast on here on the edge, it is really easy to see here the stitches. So this will help me cast them on and I recommend you use a smaller needle. It will be easier to get here into the stitches with a smaller needle like this. You pick up all the stitches like this. You will have 14 stitches and if you have one more, that's not a problem. Try not to split the yarn and make it until the last stitch here at the edge. Perfect. I made it to the edge and I have 14 stitches here on this extra needle. Now the next step is really easy. I will knit my patch just as I did before. I will knit until the last stitch of the needle here, this one. I will slip it and now I can leave this needle on the side. I can use it later. What I will do now is place this last stitch on the needle here and I will knit these 2 stitches together. So the last stitch of the brim and at the same time of the last patch and the first stitch on the edge of the first patch. I will knit these 2 stitches together, like so. Perfect. And like this, I will be joining the 8th patch and the 1st patch at the end of every right side row. If you use a 4mm needle here to pick up the stitches, you can be working only with these 2 needles all the time. But here my stitches were a little bit tight, so I took a thinner needle to pick them up. I will try and bring these stitches on a 4mm needle so that I don't have to jiggle and juggle with so many needles. They're a little bit tight, but now I have only to use 2 needles. So I turn my work, and now you would have to slip this first stitch. Slip this stitch that holds both patches together, and now you continue knitting your patch as the other ones. So I purl back here and also I have to do my first decrease on the wrong side row. Okay, here comes the decrease where I purl 3 stitches together. Make sure it's only 3 stitches. Perfect. And I finish purling the row here. I turn my work. I switch colors here. Take the blue one, and I'm almost running out of blue yarn, as you can see here. But I have one more ball, don't worry. And now I will knit again the patch. And work my decrease here in the center. Nice, perfect. And same as before, I will knit until the last stitch of my patch. And here it's easy to recognize because it's 2 different colors. Otherwise you can also place a stitch marker, but I think that it's easy to recognize. So this is the last stitch of my patch, and I will knit these 2 together here. It might be a little bit tight, so I have to loosen it up a little bit by pulling on the stitch with the needle. And then I knit these 2 stitches together. Perfect. And now I turn my work. And here I'm going to work my garter ridge. But first, this stitch that holds both patches together, I slip it. I pass my yarn to the front. And now I can knit my garter row. Make sure to pull nicely on the yarn after you knit the patches together. So I knit back here, and I will show you one more time, and then I will show you how it looks for the last couple of rows and how the finished result will be. I turn my work, change colors, knit to the center to work my decrease. nice. And then I continue knitting here to the last stitch of the patch. This is the last stitch of the patch, and I will knit this together with next stitch of the first patch here. Perfect. Pull nicely on it. Turn your work. Slip the stitch and purl to the end. So this is how it's going. You can't see much now, but when I'm almost finished, I will show you again. Very nice. I made it to the top of the 8th patch, and as you can see, they are now joined. And I have 7 stitches left from my patch and 2 stitches left here of the first patch where I am attaching it. And interestingly, I have this kind of braid that it has created here. I tried different ways of knitting the wrong side row, but I still got this kind of braid here. I think it looks cute, but interestingly, I do not have it here on my original hat. Maybe because here I knitted stockinette stitch and here I worked the garter ridges. So if while knitting this hat you find out, then let me know in the comments. I'm a very experienced knitter, but still sometimes you have questions, and that's a way how to learn and to improve. Always become better and also stay humble. Just because I've been knitting for almost 25 years and I make my own designs and patterns does mean that I have the answer to everything. Sometimes I also have to ask questions, and this is a nice way also to discuss things, to learn from each other. So leave it in the comments if you find out why this difference. I think it's probably because of the garter ridges here. Okay, let's continue. And now I will show you how I finish here attaching. So I change colors. Now I will knit blue, and I knit here 2 stitches. I make my center decrease here, slip 2 stitches together, knit 1, pass these 2 slipped stitches over, knit the next one, and I will knit this last stitch together with the penultimate stitch of the first patch. I will knit them together like so. Perfect. And now I will turn my work. See how this hat has nice stability, and from the inside it looks also pretty. You see how well this is worked. Very pretty, very neat. So I will slip the first stitch here, bring my yarn forward. Yeah, that must be the thing that creates this kind of braid. And next I will knit the stitches. Perfect. I turn my work again. Now I change colors to the red one. I knit 1, work my decrease here, knit 1, pass the 2 slipped stitches over, and this is the last stitch of my 8th patch of the row, of course, and also the last stitch of the first patch. I will knit these 2 together. Perfect. And now I have 3 stitches left here on top. What I will do now is pick up stitches to make the crown. An alternative would be that I pick up 1 more stitch here on the edge of the first patch, maybe here at the bottom, and then I would end up with only 1 stitch here at the top. That will also be totally fine. But now I ended up with 3 stitches. That's also perfect. Try to end up with 3 stitches or with 1 stitch, not more than that, because otherwise you will not have the same patch here. This patch will be different than to the others. Fine. So now that I have my 3 stitches here, these 3 stitches belong to this patch here, and I want to pick up in total 112 stitches here on this top edge. So this is how it looks. Really nice, really pretty. And on this edge here at the top, I will be picking up 112 stitches in total, which is 14 stitches for each patch. So I will show you how I do it for the first patch here. And keep in mind that these 3 stitches, they belong to the 8th patch here, which means that for this patch you will have to pick up 11 stitches here, and for the rest you pick up 14 stitches. So I do it with the red, which is perfect. I don't have to change colors here. If I had one more stitch here and knitted together one more stitch here, then I would have ended up with the blue one. It's perfect that I ended up with the red one because I want to knit the crown in red, and I will knit it in only one color. Of course, you can make stripes. So let's move on to picking up stitches here. And I often like to twist my stitches to avoid any holes. I feel that twisting helps, but you don't have to. So you have to pick up approximately 1 stitch per every stripe here to achieve the 14 stitches for each patch. So you have to pick up approximately 1 stitch for every stripe here to achieve the 14 stitches. And I like sometimes to twist my stitches when I pick them up. I feel that it helps avoid holes when I pick up my stitches, but you can do it however you prefer. Now that I have picked up a few stitches here, I find that this stitch here, which was the 3rd one of the 8th patch that was left here over, is tending more towards the 1st patch. So you have to check out for yourself. If this one rather wants to belong to the 1st patch, then leave it and only pick up 12 stitches here and 13 on the 1st patch. So now I am counting 14 stitches for this 1st patch, and I will continue still with the same needle, and later I will add, of course, more needles. I will show you for one more patch how I do it, and then we will carry on with the crown of the hat. I have 13 stitches for a second patch at the moment. I have to squeeze in one more stitch, and then I will show you how to finish your pickup here on the 8th patch, and we will move on with the crown. I'm going to show you how I pick up the last 4 stitches here. One, two, you may have noticed that I kind of picked them up from behind, from the back, and also from the purl bumps of the garter rows, like I did before. Perfect. Now I will knit these 2 stitches that belong on the 4th needle. And I will place my stitch marker here for the beginning of the round. Now I can knit in the round. Personally, I think I will be knitting 5 rounds, and after that I will start with the decreases. I will show you one decrease round when I make it there. This is the beautiful hat. At the moment, this is what it looks like, and it is approximately 13 centimeters high, maybe 13.5 centimeters high, and you can decide how many rounds you want to knit here, which height you need here before you start the decreases. I want to do a crown in this solid color, in this pinkish, except the I-cord here, I will do it in blue, and a few rounds before that will be in blue. Of course, you can work stripes like I did for this hat. The stripes are explained in the pattern, as well as the exact decreases. So if you're not working any stripes, this is the moment where you can finally break your main color. So I will be able to break the blue color here. I will not need it anymore, or I will not carry it up all this way to the finishing. But if you're working stripes, you can continue carrying both colors because the stripes are not very wide or very thick. So it is smart to continue carrying up the yarn so you don't have to sew a lot. And also you can work the jogless stripe trick. And personally, at the moment, I cannot find... This should be patch 8 and this is patch 1. So this is where I should have changed colors. And you cannot see anything basically because I worked the jogless stripes trick. So this is very nice, and you can see here that I carried the colors like this. I'm sure you can do it neater. I knitted this hat many years ago. Now I would probably try to weave them in at one point at least. But as you can see, this is very neat from the outside. You cannot see the joggles of the stripes. And even if you do it like me, so not perfectly neat, you can see that many years later, it still holds and nothing has happened here. So I will happily knit my crown now in one color, and I can break this blue one. See you for the decreases. Let's go with the crown. I am making the crown in a solid color, only in red. I have knitted my 5 rounds here and I've tried the hat on. The height is really good for me at this point. If you need more height or less height, then consider adapting the number of rounds you knit here. And now I will be working my first decrease round. In case you would like to knit this stripy version, you can find the explanation for this in the pattern, which is available on my website and on my Ravelry. So we're going to knit 8 decreases in every decrease round. Now I'm going to knit 12 stitches. Basically, I knit to the end of my patch. Perfect. I have 12 stitches. I knit these two together here, and now again I knit 12 stitches basically to the end of my patch, or I should say 2 stitches before the end of the patch. You can of course place some stitch markers here that can help you find the place where you have to decrease, and you can also memorize that you decrease always the last 2 stitches of the needle if your stitches are distributed evenly. So if you have, in my case, 28 stitches for every needle. I change the needle and I knit again 12 stitches, so 2 stitches before the end of my patch. And this is, I think, the easiest crown you can ever make. Now I knit another 12 stitches. I don't need to have a very exciting crown here because the brim is already very exciting, so I do an easy decrease pattern. And if you want to pimp it a little bit, you can of course work the stripes, and at the end we will have this little cute I-cord with the knot. Now I am at the 3rd needle. Again, I knit 12 stitches. Perfect. I knit 2 together here, and now I knit another 12. Perfect. And this is the last needle here. I knit again 12 stitches, and I decrease 2 stitches here, and I knit 2 stitches together here, and I knit another 12, and I will do the last decrease of this decrease round. Perfect. Now I will knit 2 rounds without any decreases and work the next decrease round. I will work 1 more decrease round together with you to explain you the logic, and then with the logic in hand or in mind, you will be able to work the crown by yourself, because the logic is really easy. So I have decreased 8 stitches in this first decrease round, and I will always be decreasing 8 stitches in all the decrease rounds. And of course, depending on how high you want your hat to be sitting on your head, you can space out your decrease rounds differently. So I will be spacing my decrease rounds with 2 rounds in between for maybe 4 or 5 decrease rounds. And after that, my decrease round will be spaced with 1 round. I will repeat that as well, maybe 4 or 5 times. And I will make the last 3 or 4 decrease rounds subsequently, which means with no knitting rounds in between. Perfect. I knitted 2 rounds, and now I'm going to work my second decrease round. And in the previous decrease round, I knitted 12 stitches and then I knitted 2 stitches together. So now, very basic, I'm going to stitch 11 stitches and work my decrease. Really basic logic. The decreases are worked at the same place for the whole hat pattern. So here's my decrease, 11 stitches, perfect. If you're working with stitch markers, of course, you simply have to obey your stitch markers and it will be easier. I'm a little bit lazy to use stitch markers for everything, but stitch markers are very useful. Again, I knit 11 stitches and then I knit 2 together. So that's the logic. After this decrease round, I will knit 2 rounds again and work my third decrease round, and in my third decrease round the number of stitches between my decreases will be 10, and this will be less and less for every round, 1 stitch less every time, until I have 32 stitches left. When I have 32 stitches left, I will change to my blue color because I want to work the I-cord and the finishing of my hat blue. Very nice. So that's it. I will show you one more knit 2 together and then I leave you with that and have fun knitting and see you for the finishing. I knitted the crown really quickly and I have already changed the color and worked all the decreases. So here you can see the decreases and they always are in line with the patch, which I think looks pretty like this here. And now I have 8 stitches left here at the top and I want now to knit the I-cord. For the I-cord, I will use smaller needles. 2 needles are enough and I will use 3mm needles. So I get my yarn here and I will basically knit all the stitches and at the same time transfer them to the same needle. So you can see the top of the head here is in blue. Perfect. Now all my stitches are on 1 3mm double pointed needle. And now I can work the I-cord. And an I-cord is really easy to make. So the yarn is here, but I will always work from right to left. So I ended up here after knitting all the stitches, but I already pushed the stitches to the other end of the needle. And now I will pull nicely on the yarn and bring it back to knit the first stitch. And I will just knit normally, but I have to pull on the yarn quite a bit so that my I-cord really closes and becomes round. Ends up having a nicely round I-cord shape. I'll show you 1 or 2 more times. So as you saw, I just pushed all my stitches back on the needle. My yarn is here, but I close the I-cord by knitting the first stitch here. Like so, and you really have to pull on your yarn nicely. And I will show you one more time. So I pushed all the stitches back, and you can see now how the I-cord is slowly created. And on the other side, you have these bars here, which are connecting the last stitch with the first stitch, like this. That's why you have to pull nicely on your yarn here. But these bars will not be visible in the end, because the stitches will even out, and when you block it, the stitches will have all the same size and these bars will disappear. So let's do one more together. Pull nicely here and knit the first stitch. I pull, I knit the second stitch. Push back all my stitches again, and I make one more, and you have to do approximately 7 or 8 centimeters so that the I-cord is long enough to make the knot. And I will continue here and show you the very last finishing touches. Look at this beautiful I-cord here, and as you can see, the bars here are not visible and the I-cord is fully round and closed. I will knit 2 more rounds of the I-cord. At the moment I am at approximately 8 centimeters, so I'm stretching it a little bit. I will knit 2 more and then show you how to bind off and finally finish your hat. I stick my needle into the first stitch, bring the yarn to the first stitch, tie, pull really nicely here, tight. Knit the second stitch, be nice and tight here, like so. And I think one is enough, to be honest. This is long enough, I believe. And now I will knit. I will decrease more stitches. So I push the stitches back to this side of the needle and I will knit together 4 times, so I end up with 4 stitches. And here also you have to pull tightly on the yarn. I knit 2 together a second time. Knit 2 together third time. And knit 2 together one last time. Maybe a little bit difficult to get your needle into the stitches here, but you only have to do it very few times, so it's not a problem. Like this, perfect. I have 4 stitches left here on my needle, and now I will cut the yarn. And I'm the type of person, to be honest, that cuts the yarn at the very end or as late as possible. I haven't cut the red yarn yet, to be honest. You see it's still here. And just have a quick look inside. How does it look? Looks nice. Do I want to unravel something? No, I think I can leave it like that confidently. And I feel this looks a little bit like a pumpkin. The top here, that's kind of cute. This hat, you can also make it for children. in this size, and it's perfect to use up your scrap yarns. And you can do it in multiple colors. Then of course you'll have more ends to weave in, but I think this is really cute and funny. And you can do it in multiple colors. The pattern is in multiple sizes, also for children and small heads. Okay, now let's cut the yarn here. I don't have to be very reasonable, so I can cut it kind of long here, and I can also cut the red yarn as I don't need it anymore. I will probably knit a second one and reverse the colors because I still have enough yarn. Of course I have more left of the red one, so I will reverse the colors of the next hat, and I'm planning on making the next hat fully in garter here to see how it looks. I haven't done it yet, so this will be interesting. I will probably do that tutorial in German, but you can check it out on my German channel with subtitles. So now I use a needle to weave in. My yarn is here on the left side, and I will look on my stitches here and go inside these 4 stitches from right to left twice. So 1 time, and then take the yarn from the back and again go through all 4 stitches. It's easier if you do it with the stitches on the needle, like this. Make sure you have properly pulled your yarn through the stitches. Looks okay. Now you can withdraw your needle and pull here. Try to find the top where all your stitches come together. You insert the needle, and now you have to be a little bit careful so that the needle does not accidentally weave into one stitch on the inside and doesn't stick out. Try to really get it through the full I-cord. It's not that easy, but with a little patience it should work nicely. Nice, and now you pull on it. Did I weave it somewhere? No, I can feel it and I can see it also. It's not visible on the outside. And now you can pull here on the yarn. Turn the hat. Pull gently. You don't want to break it. Maybe you have to help yourself a little bit like this. Oh, I did weave it here in, but that's not a problem. I can... Perfect. Now I can pull easily. Very nice. That was hindering a little bit. Now you can weave in. You can see the nice I-cord here inside out, and now you can weave in the end here. Do it how you usually do it. Just make sure it is secure. Doesn't have to look particularly nice. You will not see it anyways. Like this. Weave it maybe 1 or 2 more times. I prefer when it's really, really secure. Like this, 1 more time. Go diagonally through the purse stitches here, like this. And now you can cut the yarn. You don't have to cut it super short. You can leave a tail because it will be inside the I-cord anyways. So why not? So why not leave some extra yarn here? You never know, it might be useful. Like this. And now to turn it inside out. This is a little bit more tricky, but we will do it. You push it here, push it. And you can help yourself with the pen. Sticking out here, you can pull it out. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's a quick job. Nice, I can almost see the top coming out here. Almost done. Perfect. I managed to stick it out immediately, but otherwise you can also help yourself with the pen. Just stick it inside here, push a little bit gently, and then the I-cord comes out. And now I will tie my knot here at the bottom, like a pumpkin here. You can do it loose if you want it to be a little bit like bigger and sit here on top of your head like this, or we can do it really small, depending on your taste. And there we have it. Of course, I have a couple of yarns to weave in, but that's really not much. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ends to weave in, so that's really nothing compared to all the pattern that is going on. So only a few ends to weave in, and we're finished with this beautiful hat. Leave a comment if you liked it. Enjoy your knitting. Congratulations! I hope you enjoyed making your Antonia hat and that the knitting process was clear and nice and fun. If you finished it, then I'm really looking forward to seeing your photos on Instagram, #Antonia Hat, and you can tag at Calypso Citlali knits. And you can also leave your project pictures on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and watch my other videos about knitting and traveling, for example, my Japan knitting guide. Enjoy!